honor at a job, or the blessing of money, or the blessing of fame, or the blessing of promotion, a blessing of being given authority, you know, how it can be abused. Um, so whatever the blessing is, that's where the real juicy test is. Because it reveals. So you're in the muck time, right? You don't know what's going on, but the blessing comes, and then you have to go, oh, what am I going to do with that, right? Is my character going to change? Or I'm not saying don't be wise. I'm not saying, but you have to make decisions in faith, not reactive, not fleshy, not based in ChatGPT, right? As we were talking, what should I do if I get this much? Blah blah blah, right? You have to think in terms of what is truly, what fits my life, what fits my goals, what fits my spiritual ambition. When I went to, like, for instance, because I was that way growing up very poor, just in a trailer, having no money. To me, money was just a means to an end to bless people, right? You just do things to have fun and buy them stuff, and you're done with the money. Whenever I went to seminary, okay, I had very little. In order to buy a computer and to get ready to go, I had to sell everything I had just to pay off any small debt I had, which was minimal, and buy a computer, and we'd sell all of our furniture and everything. I had to sell my cars. I had to sell everything I had. I had nothing. We went to California with no car. We went with a month and a half worth of food, 2 months worth of rent, and no job and no car. And I had enough for 2 or 3 weeks for a rental car. So that's the money I had. That's it. We run out without a job, without money coming in, we're sunk, right? But God had opened the doors one after the other after the other. So there's a lot leading up to that, right? That, oh, he's working with me. Oh, he's working with me. Oh, he's working with me. We get there. I was like, well, God, you know, Beth needs a job making this much per hour on this day. And we need our first paycheck to be at this time, and it needs to be this much. So I calculated all that out. I did my own personal ChatGPT with my own fingers and figured it all out, right? I submitted to God in prayer. God, this is what we need. I said, there's no need to even look for a job right now, Beth. Let's just get settled in. We don't need a job for a month and a half. You can look in a month. Right now, we're good. And then I said, but you'll need to start looking on this day. We'll help you get a job by this day, and we need to get paid on this day. Guess what happened? We started looking on that day. She got a job that next day. We got paid exactly the exact 50 cents more per hour than I had requested from the Lord. And then 3 weeks later, she got a raise to $3 more per hour that I needed in order to make it through seminary successfully, not just scraping by. And so I was able to do that because I don't care about money that much, right? In other words, I've never been in it for the money. I'm not seeking to gain mountains of it for myself and all this stuff. I'm not looking to secure myself. Well, not saying people shouldn't if they have a purpose, but there is an end to it, right? In other words, you can work out and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but does it facilitate your life and what you're trying to attain to? Right? And it makes no sense in the gym if you say that this is your belief about your sport and you just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. If you're a wide receiver, you better stay lean and fast, right? You don't keep gaining muscle. There's a point where it's over and it fits your life, right? Same with money, or same with power, same with anything. It's all about what fits my life right now. What is logical for me? And when it comes to money, it's okay. Do I have a script that I would present to God and say, God, this is how much money I want to have because I've calculated that I can get a return on that much money. Say it's 10 million. I can get a 7% return, a $700,000 a year. I'm going to pay 50% worst case taxes. That's $350,000 a year, clear money in my pocket. Never have to work again. $350,000 a year, fully in my pocket after taxes. Okay, great. Okay, that's really all the money you'd ever need. Now but you might want more. You might want a house in Vail. You might want one in Europe, whatever. Okay, now where does it end? Where does it end? You say, oh, so I can stop working. No, so you can continue to work. Continue to make that more money and give it to the Lord or give it to the body of Christ or serve people. Get rich, do your thing, stop building barns and work for the Lord, right? I didn't go to seminary and build up knowledge just to continue to build up knowledge so I could just have it and just keep building it. But that is what people do. But my wealth, and it is great wealth, is knowledge and wisdom and understanding of the word, right? And just in the languages, all that. There was a point where I said, okay, enough, I'm done. No more learning Hebrew, no more mastering this. Time to just give, because the knowledge is giving back to me constantly. I'm learning from the things I'm teaching. So I'm constantly gaining wealth from the knowledge I have, and I'm constantly giving it out. And when I give it out, I gain more from it. It keeps feeding me, and I keep giving it out. The more I give it out, the more I get. And so there was a point where I had to say, I'm done. That's hard for guys because there's pride involved. And then you're competing and all this stuff, right? So whether it's knowledge, whether it's money, whether it's fame, whether it's power, whether it's glory, there's a point you have to say, enough, right? It's enough. Now everything I do goes out to someone else for someone else, right? Because I have all I need at this point. And you're always, of course, so if you don't have a clear path to that place in life, you're going to be constantly just building some mountain forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. What for? That's not what God calls us to do. Sure, be wise, set yourself up, provide for yourself, enjoy your life. He's given us all things richly to enjoy. You should be enjoying your life. You should be having nice things. We're the children of God. If anybody deserves it, we do. But when is it over? When you got so much money, you can just rent a house in Vail. You can just rent a house in Europe. You don't, for a month. You don't need to buy 17 different homes if just to have them, right? Just to be mine. It doesn't make any sense, right? So there's a point where you have to go, no, I want a home here and a home there, and I want this much money, and this is what I want. But then you're going to continue to work because that's what God's put us on the earth to do, is to work. If you don't work, you corrode. You go stale. It jacks you up. He's going to sit around and do nothing. A man is not satisfied unless he's doing something productive and advancing himself. And it should be for the blessing and the benefit of the body of Christ. Me being a model of that, in that I worked my butt off from 1991 all the way to 2001, right? I went through the terrible trials, unbelievable levels of education, to just get to the point where I could start then giving, right? So I invested my whole life, didn't pursue wealth, didn't pursue power, didn't pursue anything, just the base level knowledge of the Word of God in order to give. But to me, that's the 10 million, right? That's the 10 million yielding the 7% yield for me. And so has that yield outpaced me? Yes, because I would say I'm much, 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 much smarter. If anything, I'm at 30 or 40 or 50 million now as far as knowledge compared to where I was at that point. I've definitely tripled it or quadded it from where I was as far as knowledge and understanding of things. I'm not as scholastically, I've went down in worth. If you were to ask me to teach you Hebrew, I'd have to go reteach myself a lot of the fundamentals and basics to teach it. I could do it, but it would be like, I don't care about that anymore. I care about how to use it and whatnot, but I would, to teach a course or, yeah.
Not going to edify. It's like, I can't remember what you're saying.
I'm not, what am I using it for? Yeah. It doesn't make any sense for me to hold on to that area of wealth, if you will, right? And I can let that corrode and die and go away because I'm good here and this is what's useful for me. So this is what benefits people. This is what benefits me. Therefore, all this other fun stuff I enjoy so much, I can let go, sell it off, if you will, and move on. And so the child of God in those gunky periods, in those periods where you don't know what's going on, that's the preparation periods. Prepare, build yourself up, but know where you're going, right? If you're a wide receiver, work out like a wide receiver. Right? You're not just going to work out. You're going to work like you're not going to learn defensive lineman positions. You're going to learn wide receiver routes, right? In other words, you know where you're going. and you know kind of where your top is in. You don't want to learn, because if you take, say, the Patriots playbook, it might have 7,000 plays, right? And so you're not going to learn 7,000 plays. What are the 100 most common routes? Those are the ones I don't want to just know them. I want to master them. I want them to be literally ingrained into my, bones, so that I'm the best guy on the field. Because out of those 100 routes, that's the general flow of almost any other route, right? So 100, and so I'm just going to master those. I'm going to kick off the other mountain of data that I don't need to be great, right? And these will make me greater. Right? It's like, remember the Titans. We got 10 plays. You do them right, we win. Right? Remember that movie? Yeah, or 11 plays. I forget how many. I think it was like, he said, I think 11 plays or something. You learn these 11 plays. It's the only 11 plays you ever need to know. Right? All you have to do is execute them right, and we will win. And so it wasn't that he had lots of plays. He had 10 plays, 11 plays. And that way, that was attainable for those young men in a short period of time in high school to learn and to master, and to get them to where they're a machine. And the defenses, if they're a machine, the defenses won't be a machine, right? They won't, because they're trying to look at many different concepts, whereas an offense that functions perfect, a defense can't easily contend with that, right? And so he knew my mountain is 11 plays. That's the pyramid I'm building, right? That's what I'm going to attain to. That's what I'm going to get my guys to attain to, and we're going to win. Of course, in the story as they do. But that's what I'm saying. Where are your goals? What are you aiming for? Whether it's fitness, intellect, money, power, where does it end? Because ultimately, this life is about living life, enjoying your family, and giving to others. That's what it's better, more blessed to give than receive. So it's about giving. That's what it's about. Giving away your knowledge, giving away your power for good, giving away your wealth for good, after you yourself buckled yourself in your own seatbelt and put your own mask on, and you're good. You're going to survive. Now it can help others, right? Put their seatbelt on and put their mask on, because I'm good. So knowing that, where am I aiming at is the key. That often, especially in the gym, guys come in, I just want to get big. I want to get big. For what reason? What are you trying to attain to? You want a body like what's his name on Troy? Brad Pitt, or do you want a Chris Hemsworth body in Thor 1, 2, or 3? Which one? So it's very all different. So you're looking, you say, what are you and why? Like, if you get this body, you're not going to be able to do sprints. You're not going to be able to ride a bicycle effectively. You're not going to be able to ride a motorcycle effectively. If you have that body, it's for a specific purpose. Are you just wanting to walk around like a little rooster all the time and just look good, but you're very impractically athletically, or maybe your athletics is, can't touch wash your hand. Or is it that you're just trying to work out for your job? Maybe you're in protective or security or something like that. Yeah. And so, like, okay, what are you doing? What's your point?
That's actually like our coaching. So whenever I do a consultation with somebody, if they call it being a curious talk, it's like somebody might come in and be like, "Oh, I want to do this." And it's like, why? And then you see them kind of churning in their head, and like maybe they never even fully thought it out, like why they want to do X, Y, or Z. But once they discover that, then it really helps kind of lay out the plan, the framework for how to actually move forward.
And then usually what happens is you're motivated. You would retain knowledge better because you can see of the promise and the hope of the goal, right? If you don't have this in line before the Lord, you're saying, Lord, just give me money, right? Give me power, give me knowledge. For what end? What's the point? If you say, Lord, this is my plan. I want this for this reason, and here's what I'm going to do. At this point, I stop. I'm going to turn here and do this. He would say, I like that plan, or let's tweak that plan. Or, I want to bless you a little bit more. When Solomon prayed, God said, ask for anything, I'll give it to you. He said, because of this great people and my inability to lead them, give me wisdom, because I got to lead this great people of yours, right? In order to serve you, I need wisdom to lead them. And God said, because you asked for wisdom, I'm going to give you wealth and power and significance in the world and all this stuff. A lot of times, if you have a clear plan and you know what your objective is, God may add to that a lot of other things. Because, yeah, he loves you. He wants you to enjoy your life. And so Solomon was blessed with much more than that because he asked for the most important thing he would need to serve God. What would he need to serve God? Not to enjoy his life, not to secure his future, to serve God. What do you need to serve God? That you secure, everything else gets added on. And that might need power. You might need, because what if God's put in your heart to be in politics? Okay, you need to gain power. What if it's to, you put it in your heart, like some here, to support a ministry, right? Well, you're going to need money, right? But how much to support you and then your ambitions? At what point is it over before you just work after that to give it away? So there's a point where you have to present that to your Father in heaven and say, I'm an ambassador on earth. I'm here to represent you. Here's my thoughts based upon my heart's desire, my ambitions, my giftedness, my personality. Here's my thoughts. Here's what I'm going to lay before you, what my ambitions are. What do you think about this? And if you feel green light in your heart, then you go, okay, that's what I'm shooting for. And what you'll see is that person who walks by faith, God will bless. That's how it works. And so for me, coming to the Masters or moving out here or whatever it is, it's like you stick your foot out and you go, oh, he cleared a little weight. I'm taking another little half step. Oh, he cleared a little weight, another little half step. And next thing you know, you've found your end, or the door opens up, or whatever, it all eventually, it speeds up eventually, because everything finds its point. But
You probably start to gain more clarity as it starts to narrow down. Things start to flow more and more momentum builds. You start to get more fixated on exactly where you're going.
yeah.
I feel like
And God's blessing comes, right? Things get clearer, things build, things become established, whether it's knowledge or power or relationships or it's wealth or whatever it is, things begin to get established. And so things speed up. They speed up for that reason.
I feel like I definitely that helps me a lot to think about that. It's like, it's not like having a goal, but God wants us to kind of plan. Like he gave us the knowledge and the reason to be able to actually articulate a full plan together, precisely how we need to get there, and he'll bless that plan, but he wants us to administrate.
Right.
That's really helpful. I feel like I've been there in the past where it's just kind of like, God, just use me in this way. It's like he wants me to start to really learn myself in terms of what do I actually desire and how am I people.
Well, we often say, God, use me. And he's like, okay, what do you want to do?
Whatever you want.
Could you imagine just going to a football coach and saying, I just want to be on the team. You say, what do you mean you want to be on the team? You're 6'9", and you weigh 300 pounds. What position you want to play? I don't know. Well, you could be offense, you could be defense, you could be whatever. Or, you're tall, you weigh 230 pounds, and you're 6'4", and you could lean out and become a wide receiver, or you can stay where you are and become a tight end, or you could possibly be an end for a defense, or more of a speedy an end rusher. Like, what do you want to be? So you have to come. Like, if you don't know, how's a coach going to know?
Yeah,
right.
I think, you have to have conviction in your strengths and knowing the gifts that God gave you.
Right.
I don't know, would you say that that's the right place to start? Is really honing in on like you said, you're that guy 6'9", you're like, I don't know, what position.
Right.
It's hold on a second, start to really hone in on that part.
Right.
And then you can start to fine tune.
Right.
What if your thought process maybe isn't oh, well, I'm really good at catching the ball, so I should try to be a wide receiver. It's more oh, I don't like running the long distances or something, so I'd rather be someone sprint or something. What if you're thinking, I don't.
Well, go into track. Go on track and field.
Should you be thinking?
I think both.
These are my weaknesses. And I
I think both are. God's not going to force me into something I don't like
Sure.
doing per se.
Mm-hmm.
or don't want to do.
Yeah.
He's asking me to walk by faith. Now, my predisposition is not to do what I do. My predisposition is to be more private and quiet and not speak and not lead and whatever. But it's not horrible for me. You know, I mean, it's like, oh yeah, I can do it. This is what God's called me, and I'm efficient at it, and so I do it just because this is the position He's put me in. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't do it. Like, it's funny to me when you're in seminary and whatnot, they're like, well, what positions would you go for? Never questioned. I was like, oh, always senior. You know, wouldn't you want to? What about administrative? Nope. Nope. What about a biblical? Nope. 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 Not at all. I'm an exegete. I'm a teacher. That's it. Like, period. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and all I had to do was prepare for that and see if God validated it through Him opening a door. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's true. It's like if you want to be you can want to play basketball you want, but if you're 5'3" and you can jump, 28 inches, that's not going to happen. Now Spud Webb, there's not many Spud Webbs in the world, right? Right. So you can want to do something, and that doesn't matter if you're not fit for it. Yeah, exactly. So it probably is, but then you could go, oh, I can attain to that. There's a 6-foot league, right? And there's probably a young or a small or even a what do you call it? I guess midget league. So
nowadays you can just change genders.
yeah, but so it's important to know kind of what you're shooting for, and make it be realistic. And somebody might say, okay, you don't have good hands. So if you want to be a wide receiver and you're fast, you don't have good hands. What position do you play? DB or safety, because you need super speed in those positions. You need people who can run with the wide receivers. People who know the routes of the wide receivers. If you're not good at catching the ball, but you're good at least at swatting it or putting your hand in, that's a perfect position. So you're still an extremely valuable player. You're just playing the position you're strong in as opposed to the position you're weak in. So you might go, I really wanted to be a wide receiver, but you just don't got good hands, good discipline, whatever. Maybe your hands are small, right? People have big hands. Quarterbacks have to have big hands. Wide receivers have to have big hands. DBs don't have to have big hands. They can have little mittens, little kitten paws if they wanted to. Doesn't matter what hands they got. They need to have super fast, quick twitch and quick decision making, and they got to be able to get their arm in there, right here. So their hand, it doesn't matter. They're not trying to catch the ball. They're trying to defend it. And so that's why we always laugh. It's like when the DB player, the ball hits him dead in the hands, and then he drops it, and they're like, and that's why he plays defense, Because he can't. Literally, the ball hits him in the face hole, and he can't catch the ball. So having a clear objective plan is key. Knowing your strengths, knowing what you want, because God's not just going to throw you into it. People got this fatalistic idea like, oh, what if He wants me to do this? And, it's like God's not asking. He's asking you to make decisions on faith in your life. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? He's not forcing us to do things we hate.
I was speaking with a friend at one time. How like private or not private is this?
It's public. It's live.
Live.
They're live.
Okay. Yes.
We're live.
Oh, okay.
I'm live.
Then I'll
Staying
try to
alive.
make it a little bit less whatever. Sort of just telling me about what their family's going on with the family and the kids and the wife, and it seemed like the career and the side career were really blossoming, and then also big new leadership position in the church. It sounded like mega overload, right, to me. And I was just like, whoa. And they kind of made the statement of like, yeah, wow, but we'll just see what God does, and I was like, right, okay, but I'm thinking, but what do you want? and he kind of had no response.
Right.
I'm just waiting on the Lord just to see what he does, see if he'll pull me through this. And I was like,
That's not how it works.
aren't you the owner of the business and the side hustle, and you the one that accepted the leadership position in
Right.
the church? What do you want? And they had no answer.
Right. In other words, that's the point. You only wait on the Lord when you don't have a clear objective and a clear path and a clear direction. That's when you wait. You don't wait when you're given a position. You know where your objective is and you shoot for it. You're now it's time to go. It's not time to wait. You wait when you don't have options. When you start kicking doors in that you shouldn't kick in, that's when they come back and they swing back and smack you in the face and knock you down. So, you wait when you have to wait in order to maintain your moral integrity, your spiritual integrity, your civil integrity. You wait. But when the door opens, you don't wait, you go. And that's how it works with the Lord.
I mean, yeah, maybe maybe they meant something else, like see if I make money and see if people are blessed by my efforts in this ministry. Maybe that's what they meant, but
How would you approach like a situation where it's like, okay, you made a commitment to something, you're gonna give it all that you have because you made that commitment, and God has given you authority. But maybe there's like part of you that wonders if like, how long do I need to be here? Or I need to go to another chapter.
I'll give you one example. Whenever I went to work after seminary, I went back into secular work. I told them I'll be there for 3 years. That was my conviction. I can only promise you 3 years. Or not promise you, but commit to you for 3 years. And after that, I'm going to start looking for full-time ministry. Now, I said, however, I might not find a church for a year, right? So I might be here 4 years or 5 years, depending on, I can't just say, I'm only going to be here 3 years and just walk out the door. I still have a family to provide for, right? But I had an idea in my heart as to how long I personally wanted to prepare before going into full-time ministry back in the secular world, and it was 3 years. And so I made a choice to tell them I can only give you 3 years, just so I had integrity. I didn't want them to think, oh, they're hiring this dude for the next 20 years. It's like, no, I'm going to give you 3. And then I'm going to start looking I went to seminary to be in the ministry, and that's what I'm going to seek to do. And they're like, that's good. That's 3 years is good. We can work with that. I said, perfect, sweet. So they hired me, and I was there.
So the point is that like you had your long-term plan and you had your short-term plan established.
Correct.
If you're in that short-term plan, you don't have a longer-term plan. It's like,
Well, then you have to establish it. What's your long-term plan? Yeah. And when you find it, then you begin to test it, like role play it, live it out in different ways, like imagine you're already there. Like you have to test it, because just imagining it, like idealistically, I mean, how many times have you had an idea and you go, I don't really like that. I don't really like that food. I don't really like this place. I don't like to work out this way. I don't like that routine. I don't like this sport. I thought I would. I thought I'd love it, and I really don't like it. So you can make a long-term plan, but you better do a little bit of like, go investigate, go find people who have already attained to that, do some interviews, search the internet. In other words, really do your due diligence to see if that's truly where you want to go. Because when you're there and you've worked for it, it's like going to college to be a doctor and realizing that you hate blood. And you're like, oh no, you better go dissect some, little animals in some lab as a volunteer or something somewhere, so as to see if you can handle, taking a spleen out.
or you're 5'3" and you're dreaming about being a basketball player, but it's like, is that actually?
Yeah, well, that's pretty. That one's gonna be pretty easy to see.
Exactly.
You can wish all you want on that one. It's not gonna happen. So
Self-awareness. Yeah. So it sounds like the first step would be like knowing yourself, your identity in Christ.
I call it your flesh profile. You have a flesh profile and a spirit profile. Know that. How tall are you? How strong are you? What's your ambitions? Blah blah blah. Right? How smart are you? What's your education? What's your mental acuity? All that. What's your flesh profile? What's your strengths? Are you quiet? Are you vocal? Are you passionate? Are you calm? Are you the quiet one? Are you the loud one? Are you more of a teacher? Are you more of a learner? Are you a leader? Are you a follower? Like, learn your flesh profile. Unbiased. Don't be proud. Everybody wants to say, I'm a leader. No. What are you really? Learn it, write it down, put it down, And then now you know that profile. Now your spirit profile, that tends to be the one that's hardest to quantify unless you've really grown in the Word of God enough to know your spirit's profile. Because, what are my gifts? Well, some people, they're so young in Christ, they don't even know what their spiritual gifts are. They haven't developed them. They haven't been in the body. You can only develop them in the body of Christ because they're made to give out. They're made to edify the body, not you. So that means that you have to exercise them in the body. Do you naturally go toward giving or serving or encouraging? And then you have a lot of, that's a trial and error thing because maybe like, okay, you're not a very good teacher, or you're too passionate, or whatever. So your spiritual gifts will manifest themselves as you employ yourself on the field, right, of play. So in this case, the church. So as you apply yourself, your spiritual gifts will manifest themselves. Now, in the beginning, you can't say you don't have a spiritual gift if your flesh is just too strong and your spirit's too weak. You just have to say, I can't quantify that. I would say you really, for most people in our day, it's going to take 3 years minimum to even figure out what your spiritual gifts are because, and that's if you're really in a good church that's really teaching the truth and you're actually growing, right? To where it's not a Sunday thing where you're growing daily. It'll still take you 3 years just to get a feel of your own spiritual profile, in my opinion. And it's foolish to think that you could, in my mind, it's foolish to think you could figure it out earlier than that. So flesh profile is pretty simple to figure out. And in interviewing people on that one's important. Getting their opinion on what they think your profile is. Because because you get blinded to your own shortcomings and things like that.
Well, I think when I was younger too, like, I don't know exactly what it derived from, but I think I was always like, maybe like in the spirit of trying to be humble or anything, like it was hard for me to identify strengths because I was like, oh, like I'm not good at that. It's like now that I'm older, I'm like, no, God did give me this gift, and I know that.
Right. Exactly. It's developed. That conviction is developed through time and use and doubt, right? Because you're trying to figure it out, and when you do, you're like, nope, this is it for me. So, yeah, same is true spiritually. Same is true spiritually.
So the spirit profile specifically, could you elaborate more a little bit on like maybe an example of what that might look like?
Well, some people in here are just a bundle of joy and encouragement. You get around them, they encourage you. They're happy, they're sweet, they're encouraging. Others, they want to come and they want to sit down and teach and talk and talk and talk and teach, right? So where would you think their proclivities are going toward, Now, you can be a teacher in the flesh and not really very much one in the spirit, but you'd have to test it against, just because you're a teacher, high school teacher, whatever, doesn't mean you're going to be very good at biblically teaching because they're different ambitions. But so you have to test that in time as you go through and you try to encourage somebody in the Word. Either you're going to have that wisdom and that discernment, that ability, or not. And a lot of that's you've learned it first. You have to teach yourself in order to learn to teach others. Anybody who just teaches others is not teaching themselves. They're pretty shallow in the depths. They're not going to really. It's all book knowledge. It's all Goodwill Hunting. It's all head, but it's not. Yeah, it's a great movie. So spiritual development will come by simply the more you get around the body of Christ, the more that will begin to manifest itself. Because you will gravitate toward, oh, let me help you put out those chairs, or, oh, let me do this. Some people come in, they just immediately go to helping, moving stuff around and doing stuff. Others, they just walk right by it, they don't even think about it, right? So I would say, oh, this one has a natural service gift, right? And this one has a natural, more teaching and encouraging gift, and this one has an encouraging and prayerful gift. And nobody's just one or two gifts. You're like a snowflake is a unique thing, right? And we all have percentages. Maybe you are more of a teacher and you're an encourager, but you also pray. Maybe you don't pray as much, but you serve and you teach and you encourage. So we all have percentages of things that are multifaceted that we are growing in and maturing in. And that develops over time. You begin to see who you are spiritually, and it takes time. So you can't rush that. As Miracle Max said, don't rush a miracle, Sonny, you get rotten miracles. Don't rush a miracle, Sonny, you get rotten miracle. Princess Bride, Miracle Max.
So if I like,
Rest in peace.
if I really like to learn, let's just say, because that's something else that you referenced earlier, but not necessarily, is that obviously like learning is not a way to like identify church, but like what would that be an indication of?
What? Liking to learn?
Learning the technical
Well, I think
aspects of things and like
that's the basis of something that's going to come out of that. Eventually, you will hit a ceiling where you're like, okay, I know. And what'll happen is you'll start teaching, or you'll start encouraging, or you'll start writing books, or you know, something will come out of that technical desire to learn. And that's what I'm saying. You can't manifest a gift without having the foundations. And the foundations are based in literally just intellectual knowledge, objective knowledge, you know, the book, God's word written. And so to grow spiritually, first it starts with knowledge. It's, I mean, you know, Colossians 1:9-12, the prayer. It's growth is on the basis of the true knowledge of Christ, or the knowledge of God. And then you can be steadfast and movable and increasing in good works, and then the good works increasing in knowledge. Because as you gain knowledge, and then as you practice it, you gain knowledge from that knowledge and experience, right? So you can learn about how to throw a ball, and then you throw the ball, and you go, oh, that's how it. So you put your finger here, oh, you move it back a little bit. You gain knowledge by applying knowledge. You gain understanding because then you understand. You gain wisdom because now you know how to do it in various contexts. So, and as you develop those, then something will flower, like some kind of giftedness will come out and begin to manifest itself and help toward others. But at first, it's like a little kid. You learn, and you're just kind of flopping around, and you can't want to you cannot want to rush that. You've just got to go, okay, if I don't really know yet, I don't know. And I'm a kid. Yeah. I'm a 35-year-old kid, you know, and that's okay. Wonderful. Praise God, you know. And some people are like a 60-year-old kid, right? Because spiritual age is very, very different than physical age, you know. That's why in 1 John he says, I speak to you little children. Some of those would be old people who are little children, right? Because you know the Father. I speak to you young men because you're strong and you've defended against the evil one. I speak to you fathers because you know the Father. So he's speaking to not people of physical age, but people of spiritual age in that passage.
So that helps to clarify for sure.
Yeah, and so when you read Timothy, Timothy was younger than a lot of the people in his church, but he was more spiritually mature than a lot of people in his church. And so was Paul. Paul was relatively young in his ministry. He would have come up against people who are much older and therefore would have demeaned him. Jesus himself dealt with that, right? You're not yet 40 years old, you know. And so, but he was obviously God in flesh, so he's the most mature person who's ever lived. And consequently, didn't need their help or their criticism. And so, like David said, your word has made me wiser than all my counselors. And so the more you know the word, the less counselors you need. You just need good ones. But be honest with you, just the knowing, getting the word in you is the most important step. Even if it's messy, even if it's not understood, even if you don't know why you're learning it, doesn't matter. Eventually, I go, okay, remember the story of Abraham and how it led to that? And you're like, yeah. Whoa, you just made all that make sense all in a day, right? But how do I do that if you don't have that knowledge in there? If you don't have the knowledge, I can't go orchestra, you know. Your brain is like all the instruments in there because you got all this knowledge. And I say, okay, now I'm going to, through your own brain, create a masterpiece for you to enjoy. And so with the knowledge you have, and then I go, okay, remember Abraham in Genesis 12, and that led to Genesis 15, Genesis 17, Genesis 22, and how that led to Deuteronomy 30, the promise of the new covenant, and then that, and then this happened, and that happened, and we're here, and here.
it's like too in school if like the teacher signs like, oh, read this book over the summer or whatever, read this book, and then you don't read the book, then you're all talking about it. It's like you're just sitting there like kind of clueless, like
Right.
you know what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you did read it over the summer, you better read it at the end of the summer probably, because you're going to forget it at the beginning of the summer. Read this book, you read it like 3 months later. I don't know, I hit my head 3 times and knocked myself out like 4 playing backyard football, and I can barely remember my name at this point.
Knock me back a few spiritual years.
Yeah, my brother often gives stories of our family, and I'm like, dude, I don't remember that at all. Of course, I knocked myself completely out and almost died several times, but dude, I must have lost like that. That one got flushed down the old toilet whenever the whole memory of that whole event is gone. I got a good memory, and some memories are just gone. They're just gone. Yeah,
Some memories are probably good to lose.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, funny stuff. Spiritual journey is very, very akin to an athletic or physical journey because it's based in knowledge, then it's discipline, and then you discover your flesh, your profile, and then you practice. You then aim at narrowing in what your ambitions are physically to with your with your ambitions outside on the field, if you will, of play. That is, say, in life, and then you begin to hone. You practice according to that reality. You don't practice everything. You practice according to that. And then as you practice according to that reality, you refine it. Do I like the left side or the right side of the field? Am I better at being a short inside runner, or am I a post runner? You know,
Boxing, there's like different styles. So you have like
Right.
puncher,
right.
versus like
There's the lean back guy,
yeah,
and then there's the Mike Tyson type. So knowing your framework, knowing your speed, knowing your power, everything, as you begin to apply yourself, as long as you know you're heading toward boxing now, I'm not MMA, I'm not this, I'm not that, it's this. Now I can hone it in and refine it down and refine it down and refine it down. That takes humility because everybody's like, so you're not very good at jabbing. No, I'm good at jabbing. Like Tyson wasn't a jabber, right? He was an inside, boom, 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 two to the body, one to the head kind of guy, right? He would come in and gut, pow. It was beautiful.
shorter than most of the guys in the weight class. And
Yeah, he couldn't jab with them. He was like a foot shorter, and his arms were a foot shorter. So he would get inside that belly man, and he would just grind them out, just blow them up. And it's a beautiful thing to watch, epic. But he didn't, if somebody were to say, well, you just weren't very good at jabbing, you say, it's not that I wasn't very good at jabbing. I wasn't built for it in my weight class. If I was fighting a guy my height, my length, whatever, maybe, but I'm not. So therefore, this is where my strength is, and this is where I can only be good if I apply myself here, right?
So you have to know your strength and understand like how that fits into this bigger picture.
Yeah, and know your weakness, right? If I'm 5'10" in a field of guys that are 6'5", I can't pretend like I'm going to stand toe to toe and jab with these guys. I've got to get in and just wear their spleen and kidneys out and their livers, right? Play punching bag with that daggum liver and be done with it. That's what Tyson would do. He would shock guys by coming in, and he would go boom, boom to the body, and then he would go uppercut.
Yep.
Oh, because they would go, the second hit, they would begin to curl, and it was so beautiful to watch because they were shocked at the power of his stomach shots. And then they would drop, and as soon as they opened, boom, and they were like, beautiful. It was epic.
We used to call it a Tyson 3.
Oh, so pretty.
Body and then come up with a 6-3, the rear uppercut and the lead hook over the top.
Oh, golly.
They always start with that first body shot.
Yeah. He would come in, kind of like get his groove going, figure out what their distance and their speed was, and then he would push them to the ropes, and then bam, 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 and it was just, oh, God.
I read
Beautiful.
a book with him, and I'm sure you probably know a bit of his story, but like his trainer, Customato,
Yeah.
he was really like a big part of Tyson's like.
Oh, yeah. He was fundamental.
He believed
Yeah.
in him. He saw something in them. He took him off the streets when he was just like in game and fighting.
Yeah. No, I know the whole story. It was epic.
Yeah,
He was his father, basically.
literally.
He loved that guy. Yeah.
He did. He disciplined them. He taught him. He had him read books and all kinds of things to sharpen him and discipline him. But yeah, it's because even when Customato died, Tyson kind of diminished. He started.
That's when the beginning and the end at that point. Yeah. He was riding off of Customato's training and all that, and then of course it was the moral degradation. Customato would have never let him decline morally. He would have been keeping him aligned, away from drugs and women and all that fighting and all that nonsense. And the other guys came in and rode that, and took advantage of him. Unfortunately, I would have loved to see what Tyson would have turned out to be if Customato would not have died. It would. I think he would have been champ a lot longer, and he would have devastated people a lot longer. He wouldn't have went to prison, things like that.
Well, so that whole thing is like, yeah, he was
That wouldn't-
60, like, it did look like he was maybe holding back. a
He
little bit.
definitely held back. Did you see him go
Mhm.
and
He's,
pull
like,
his?
biting glove.
No, did you see him? There was a point where he did the old boom boom, and then he came through, and he just went and he tucked it, and I was like, maybe he, well, maybe he felt like he didn't have the punch, and he was opening himself up. I'll give him
He
the
did
benefit of the
not
doubt.
look like the old Mike Tyson.
But
Just say that.
he looked. I believe he's still scary. I wouldn't, even at that age, wouldn't dare get in the ring with him. He's awesome. Still scary.
He tightened up and then just sped across the entire board.
Yeah, he was terrifying.
He's-
There's a monster coming at me. Yeah, it was fun. It was regardless, it was still fun to see Mike in the ring. Loved it.
Yeah, almost 60 years old in there banging the young dude.
You hate to see the greats like still long for Montana to go walk out on the field, like Jerry Rice, I mean, who would love to see him play a game. Jeez.
Definitely a lot of respect there.
Considering Aaron Rodgers is still in the field, you want Tom Brady to come back.
Well, considering Philip Rivers just came back out
Yeah.
after 4 years out.
Remember Brett Favre, like 3 different stints, like.
Well, what was funny is he's much younger than Aaron or Philip. He was like 39, 40. And they were like, oh, it's ridiculous. Old man, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, he still had it, man. He almost took Minnesota Vikings to the Super Bowl. So he had that bicep injury, got it fixed. Next year he comes out swinging again. He was great. So they were just torturing. I don't know why they tortured him so much. He was great. As soon as they're gone, you got these rookies that can't play out there. It was like, oh, the football's not as exciting as it used to be. Yeah, because you ran the old dudes off. Just let these old timers go out on their shield, man. Leave them alone.
I used to hate Tom Brady, and then like over time, like I kind of grew respect for him.
Oh yeah, I love him.
He's obviously a great player, but you see the work that he puts in like year round, and just like
Yeah,
he trains smart, he trains hard, and you can tell that he loves the game, and he's no excuses. Like
he's epic. He's a guy who knows he knows his flesh evaluation. He knows he's not fast. He knows his release is not fast, but he knows where's his strength. He'll tell you, it's in his mind. He's able to read defenses, and he knows what they're going to do before they do, and therefore he's able to pick them apart. And this is what his self-evaluation of himself. So because he knew that about himself, he focused there, like Tyson. He focused there, and he became truly the best quarterback to ever play the game when it came to just numbers wise. I mean, 6
well, how often did he get
championships.
injured, too?
Yeah, it was very rare. Only that
In
one
his book, he talked about
flexed out knee injury.
pliability is basically like your body's ability to disperse forces.
Yeah,
And he talked about how he trained specifically for pliability. Nobody else was doing that.
yeah.
Because he understood that he's like, I'm going to get sacked.
You're gonna
I'm
hit the
get
ground
hit,
constantly.
But if you have good pliability, your body can disperse those forces
Mhm.
much easier as opposed to like being real stiff. You're going to get hurt
Yeah,
really easily if
yeah.
you're not pliable. So it isn't, again, like, I think he just trained very intelligently.
It-
Like you said,
yeah.
he knew his weaknesses. He knew what he was good at. and
Yep. He focused there and he maximized it, and he was amazing. And everybody wondered, was it Belichick or was it Brady? Well, Belichick went down and Brady won another Super Bowl, So you can see that people put so much on the coaches. I think that's a wrong. Players are really the key, right? But coaching is also the key. But a coach has to know that he's not on the field, he's not playing, and you can't win without good players. You can't do it. I don't care what kind of system. That was the beauty of watching. I enjoyed watching Belichick's arrogance fail. Not because I was against Belichick. I think he's great. But I don't like arrogance. And when I saw him, oh, well, I can just plug anybody into this system, it'll work. No,
Hubris.
that's not true. You have to have good players and exceptional players in order to, hubris. in order to win. And your system just doesn't work because it's magic. It works because there's a player who can make it work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's very true. It kind of, I mean, what we're talking about here, not to undermine the Holy Spirit, of course, but like we're talking about, it's like the Holy Spirit can't do it for you. Like,
Right.
you have to do it. They can coach you, and he can coach you up and be like on your team, on your benefit, but you have to, your spirit has to make
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
Oh, that one time, like we ran for the first time a few times, but that one time we made it, and then looked at the camera. I was like,
Who?
Tom Brady. He ran for the
Oh, I
first
know, I
time,
know.
like, actually
It's so funny watching him. So he's like,
Biggest
whoa. He's so slow running out there. I'm always like, just slide, man.
But he, like in the playoffs or like if it was a big game, he would like
Yeah, he'd take off.
he would go for it. He was, willing to do whatever it took the right game.
That's always risky for a quarterback, isn't it?
I still to this day don't understand how the Giants beat them twice. Super Bowl.
That's like the most weird thing to me.
Cause like Eli Manning, like
It was a sloppy and with Randy Moss. Like, how do you lose that game? Literally, you could just put Tom Brady and Randy Moss and an offensive line out there by themselves, and they would still win the game. Like, just throwing the ball every time. I don't understand how they lost that game to this day. I have no idea. It's the, I'm still, I'm
They
sure,
did it twice.
I'm sure
Like,
he
that's the
is.
mind-boggling
Yeah,
part.
yeah. The only 2 Super Bowls I think Eli won were in that way. So
And then I remember something
Kyrie, yeah, yeah, the catch, the helmet, the head couch.
4th down and 12 or
What
whatever.
the
Like
heck?
Eli
And he
just
almost gets
chucks it.
sacked, and he's just
Yeah.
chucking it up there. Dude catches it all
Catches
weird.
helmet, you're like,
You're like, yeah, never touched. Wow. Oh, fun.
but like still nobody would know who the better quarterback is.
Mhm.
team.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think it's all about the long run. Like one season, one game, but it's like you look over the course of a long period of time, and that's really what tests somebody's character.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's see what everybody else has got going on.